Greetings, dear anointed ones. Watch out who you make fun of in public, since they might be the model you're copying in secret. Let that sink in, because we're about to discuss one of the most embarrassing realities that no one wants to publicly acknowledge today. You're the talk of the town, chosen ones. They may despise you, adore you, or secretly want to be you. And no, it's not only because you look good, act like a king or queen, or exude an aura that makes devils perspire. There is much more to it than that. This is an astounding truth. The typical individual spends at least 52 minutes a day discussing someone else. And congrats if you've been selected. You are most likely the narrative twist, the subplot, and the headline. You're not just in their lips, you're also in their thoughts, relationships, group conversations, and, let's face it, even in their private dreams. However, why? Why does your name continue to reverberate in the circles you left behind? Why does your shine make others chuckle nervously? Why are they imitating your mood, replicating your phrases, and monitoring your sight before feigning inspiration? Because something about you makes them question what's normal. And it's not simply jealousy, I assure you. It's a spiritual disturbance. Karmic discomfort is the cause. It's the uneasiness individuals have when they're acting like someone they're not while observing someone who is. We're pulling back the veil today. No filters, no cliches, no spiritual jargon. We're going to reveal the true, unvarnished, soul-level explanation for why you're the talk of the town, even at parties you weren't invited to. And don't worry, we'll inject some comedy because, really, if people continue to watch you like Netflix, you should at least be aware that you're worth binging on. Let's get started. First of all, you reflect what they are feigning not to be. When you enter a room, you immediately make others feel noticed, and not in a good way. You don't even attempt to expose others. What they have been feigning not to be, you reflect. For years, they have been deceiving themselves by using conceit to conceal their insecurities, feigning smiles to conceal envy, rationalizing dread, and disguising cowardice as tranquil. Then you appear, however, on it. You don't even talk. You just are what they have been pretending to be. And that's the true reason they keep saying your name. Because you make people uncomfortable with their own reflection, they spread rumors about you. You did something they couldn't do, not because you did anything bad. You put the truth before the crowd. You choose to develop instead of remain stagnant. To advance, you didn't cut corners or step on people. What others were too scared to become, you became. And now it's like looking into an unflinching mirror whenever they think of you. This explains why people randomly mention your name. You are the unsaid proof that they gave up on themselves, not because you were the bad guy. They were aware of you when you had nothing and were ignored. They had the same opportunity, time, and platform, but they went with image. Purpose is what you selected, and they are still troubled by that choice. They don't despise you. They just detest being reminded of you. You remind them that you were growing into a true person while they were attempting to seem successful, that they watered themselves down to fit into circles you outgrew, and that they betrayed their own potential. Because it's simpler to divert their attention than to face the reality you represent, they gossip about you, make fun of you, and make up tales. They weren't exposed by you. You made them public. Furthermore, there is a distinction. In a society that is hooked to faking, you turned into a walking truth serum. You remove people's illusions rather than just mirroring them. They turn you into gossip when they are unable to manage you, outdo you, or understand you. That's how they protect themselves. However, they realize deep down that you are more than simply a subject. They are unable to ignore the truth about you. And each time your name is said, that reality reverberates. Second, without uttering a word, your energy reveals every covert goal. The whole vibe of a room may be changed without uttering a single word. Your presence speaks for itself. Being loud, ostentatious, or simply attempting to attract attention is not the point. You just exude a natural vitality that pierces through facades like a sword. And that's precisely why when you arrive, people begin to murmur. You're not doing anything incorrectly. It's because everything they're attempting to conceal is exposed by your energy. Fake confidence suddenly begins to falter as soon as you enter a room. People's carefully constructed facade of having everything together begins to fall apart. Why? Because the illusion doesn't align with your energy. It is able to see through it. You make it impossible for those who live on control, deception, or fake status to unwind. They don't know why, but they feel vulnerable. They get worried as a result of that emotion. Additionally, individuals either fight or withdraw when they feel spiritually exposed. That's why after you're gone, people speak about you. You made an impression. You entered the room, said nothing, and yet you caused others to start doubting themselves. It was palpable in their chest, some unseen force that caused them to question if this individual was observing them. You see me, really? And the response is in the affirmative. Your soul speaks the truth without your tongue having to speak, even if you don't always recognize it yourself. What irritates them most is the silent power, because they may dismiss you if you were obnoxious or too theatrical. But you're clear, composed, and serene. Because you don't look for approval, those who rely on it feel unimportant around you. You don't plead for approval, which makes you feel insignificant. The performers feel disregarded because you're not readily wowed. Your name remains popular in talks because you were never silent. Exposure was the cause. Not much was spoken by you. You just overstimulated others. You made no effort to draw attention to their problems. Already, they were leaking, and the fractures were more obvious because of you. It has a spiritual component. It's vivacious. It's also memorable. They sensed you, which is why they speak about you. They are now unable to undo what you triggered. Third, they research you because you seem to have a mystical presence. People study you, not just observe you. They observe your movements, your speech, and your ability to remain composed in the face of pandemonium. Some people find it almost supernatural, as if there is something about you that can only be seen and not described. Even if you don't mean to stand out, you do. People feel as if you're walking with something or someone heavenly just because you don't abide by the same laws as everyone else. They are perplexed by it. It keeps them chatting and piques their interest. You navigate life in a manner that is different from the norm. You recover from situations that might have devastated others. You talk with a level of knowledge that books cannot impart. In times of storm, you provide calm. You see things that others overlook. People can't quit observing you because of this. They know that you're constructed differently and that something greater is directing you, even if they don't express it out. People get obsessed with you when they are unable to explain you. They don't understand why you're not resentful of what happened to you. They don't understand how you can remain strong after the sabotage, optimistic despite the pain, and kind after the treachery. In their view, it is illogical. They've seen much less cause folks to collapse. However, you develop spiritually, strongly, and silently. Additionally, that degree of power gives the impression that you are otherworldly. Some people will respect you without ever speaking. People will attempt to undermine you and be envious, but they are all watching because your entire presence goes against everything they believed was possible. You seem to possess old knowledge. Your words break through deceit and reveal the truth. Where individuals have darkened for years, you shine brightly. Additionally, you unintentionally reveal how little everyone else is playing. You are the subject because of this. You disrupt comfort zones just by showing there, not because you requested attention. You're not attempting to be enigmatic. They just cannot understand you. You don't make an effort to be strong. You just are. And there's something about you that others can't describe. So they watch, wonder, and murmur. To them, you are more than simply a person. They can't figure you out, and that makes them mad. Fourth, they were unable to manage you, so you became their obsession. They were more screwed up than they'll ever admit because they couldn't manage you. The pressure wasn't meant to be resisted. It was not intended for you to retain your authority. When they tugged every manipulative rope they could find, you weren't meant to remain firm. However, you did. You were able to avoid the guilt trips. When you were alone, you didn't become any smaller. When they gave you the quiet treatment, you didn't seek their approval. Additionally, you refused to fall for their charm, deceptive promises, or phony allegiance when they attempted to entice you. You were able to see right through it, and they saw you as dangerous because of it. People like feeling in charge. They like knowing that they can pull strings and press buttons to acquire the desired results. But none of their strategies worked with you. They prodded at your suffering, but you didn't blow up. When they stopped showing you love, you didn't ask. When they turned the audience against you, you remained strong. They didn't plan for the one thing you did. You remained who you were. They are thinking about you all the time now. They failed, not because they're missing you. They couldn't break, control, or mold you into what made them feel better than you were. They will never acknowledge how much it hurt their pride. Every time your name is spoken today, it hurts because you revealed the boundaries of their authority. They are obsessed with you not because you were the most theatrical, the loudest, or the most passionate person, but rather because you were untouchable. You didn't scream or plead. You just went on with dignity, strength, and self-respect. And that is the reason they can't get you off their thoughts. They don't discuss how they were unable to keep you under control. They just fabricate the story. They will describe you as too much, frigid, or tough. But the reality lies behind all of that. You managed to get past the net. They expected you to fold, but you didn't. They didn't have to display another shattered award on their shelf because of you. You left completely, and they are haunted by it. You turned into the anomaly in their routine, the one who remained upright, the person who maintained their identity, since they know deep down that they will never again have that type of control over someone like you. You are now always on their minds. Fifth, they study you behind your back while making fun of you in front. In public, they make fun of you, but in private, they are quietly, fervently, and intently observing you. Even though they may never acknowledge it, you are the one they covertly observe, evaluate, imitate, and draw inspiration from. They minimize your intelligence, make fun of your development, and behave as if you're not unique. Meanwhile, they are attempting to replicate your energy as if it were a formula that they could bottle. They use your words without giving you credit. They mimic your thinking while feigning self-discovery. After criticizing your lifestyle, they choose a different one. You become the handbook they secretly consult. They required the spiritual and emotional blueprint, but they were never humble enough to acknowledge it. Don't you think it's crazy? When no one is looking, they consider your existence as a lesson, yet in public, they behave as if you are unimportant. In actuality, you nourish their soul while intimidating their ego. Something about your fortitude, genuineness, and calm self-assurance resonates with me. If they can ever bring themselves to stop the act, they have the type of nerve that wants to be you, not the kind that wants to ruin you. And that's the true reason they silently observe you. Because you are live evidence that self-worth exists independently of praise, that freedom is real, and that healing is possible. They're imitating your moves, but they won't applaud for you. Although they won't give you a praise, they are changing their language, perspective, and objectives to reflect what they see in you. They would pay a lot of money to have your tranquility, clarity, and authority, regardless of how much they seem unconcerned. You are now their implicit point of reference. They're using what you already know to develop their next move. And because honesty cannot be faked, they always fall back into your shadow when they attempt to overshadow you. Furthermore, without substance, truth cannot be replicated. You may never get your flowers from them. It's okay if they avoid mentioning you while covertly binge-watching your energy like a favorite show. Because their spirit remembers who you are, even if their ego rejects you. They return time and time again because they can't discover the truth anyplace else except you. You represent the karma, number 6. They didn't anticipate it. You didn't need to do anything. You didn't need to clap back, yell, or scheme. You just continued to change. And only that turned into their karma. They sought to destroy you, mistreated you, lied to you, and undervalued you. They turned their backs on you, believing you would never rise again. And they murmured when you were quiet and laughed when you were shattered. However, you did. And now they are silently suffering a sentence for your very existence. You did not get retribution. You outgrown them. They weren't exposed by you. By their treatment of you, they revealed themselves. And now they're trapped choking on the consequences of their own choices while you're growing, changing, and shining with the type of clarity and serenity that money cannot buy. They believed that karma would arrive in full force. They never thought it would appear as you, stronger, smarter, and untouchable. You've turned into an unavoidable mirror for them. It serves as a reminder that what they attempted to destroy not only survived, but also changed every time they read your name, hear your story, or scroll past a glimpse of your accomplishment. From their aim, you moved on to their testimony. Because it validates one thing they thought wasn't true. Your victories hurt more than any punishment they have ever dreaded. God witnessed everything. The treachery, the smear campaigns, and the falsehoods. And he responded by raising you up rather than firing fire from the skies. You now cause them discomfort because of this. You are a living example of the repercussions. That spiritual laws never take a break. That the roles are not simply reversed. They rotate precisely. Divine timing took care of it for you, so you didn't have to clap back. Instead of seeing your demise, they saw your growth. They attempted to use a rumor against you, but that fact burns deeper. You flourished in front of them despite their attempts to bury you in shame. The irony is that your name is ingrained in every nook and cranny of their shame. so they are unable to even appreciate their victories. You are more than the person they formerly knew. The justice they didn't anticipate is you, and their consciousness is filled with that reality. Your glow was directly caused by the fire they attempted to burn you with, which is why they continue to be concerned. You were the quiet assignment, number 7. They were a complete failure. In their lives, you weren't simply another individual. You were a task, a test from God disguised as a person. Some were entrusted with the holy duty of loving you, protecting you, supporting you, or just being at your side during a difficult time. However, they were unaware of the burden they were bearing. They chose ego over respecting you. They opted for gossip rather than loyalty. They revealed your wounds rather than shielding your soul. They failed the fundamental task that heaven had given them by doing this. It wasn't simply a personal betrayal. It had a spiritual quality. They prayed for you, but you were the gift they couldn't keep. They were unable to cope with your favor, clarity, and pure heart. For attention, some people deceived you. Envious people turned against you. Others left to blend in with groups they weren't even supposed to be a part of. They exchanged something superficial for something holy. What they lost is now haunting them. You see, your presence is never random when you are a chosen one. Even in partnerships, friendships, and casual talks, you always have a goal. In concealment, you were a miraculous lifeline. In their mayhem, you were the source of peace. You made room for their suffering. You saw beauty in their imperfections. However, they had to extinguish their light before they could see it. Their life seems trapped right now. Nothing moves. Nothing comes close to what they had with you, even their best efforts. It seems like there are no ties. The breezes seem pointless. Even the quiet seems louder than it used to be, because it reminds them of the person you were. They can't stop hearing your name, not out of love, but remorse, because they know in their hearts that they handled something sacred incorrectly. You weren't just lost. The grace that accompanied you is no longer available to them. And when they see you flourishing, radiant, and going ahead without them, that realization strikes them differently. The idea that they were entrusted with something unique and they mishandled it is something they can't get rid of. Retaliation wasn't necessary. Every time they recall how they handled someone assigned to assist in their healing, their own spirit persuades them. The test was you, and they utterly failed. The 8th number. Their souls are unable to ignore the frequency you bring. People sense something about you that they can't quite put their finger on. Something in them responds before you ever speak, before they even know your name. And that's because you have a spiritual vibration that is more powerful than any titles, prestige, or outward look. It isn't your attire. It's not your appearance. It's who you are. The invisible aspect of you that, often before others are aware of it, touches them on a soul level. The energy changes as you enter a room. Some individuals are attracted to you right away. They are suddenly more self-aware, more open, and more inspired, and they have no idea why. Without a single word being said, others experience irritation, tension, or even fear. That isn't a coincidence. It's spiritual. Whether people are prepared, your presence ignites them. And for that reason, you will always be remembered. You convey truth not just via your words, but also through your demeanor, posture, and presence. Something about your spirit is old. You move with a level of awareness that others have not yet attained. It's not conceit, it's alignment. Additionally, your energy seems like a direct challenge to those who are preoccupied with manipulation, performance, or pretense. Although you don't want to offend anybody, the frequency of your visits does. It either awakens people's appetite or makes their demons come out to play. Just being near you will make some people want to change, develop, heal, and rise. Even if they are unable to express it, others will have a sense of spiritual conviction. You serve as a reminder of who individuals are, might be, and were destined to be. Furthermore, not everyone is prepared for that degree of introspection. They think about you long after you've left because of this. People mention your name even if they don't know you well because of this. Your vibe isn't normal, which is why adversaries are obsessed and strangers gaze. It's wonderful. It wasn't made by you. You have it from birth. Frequency, brightness, and clarity are the codes that either stir people up or make them flee. They will never forget the instant your energy touched theirs, no matter how much they attempt to ignore it. Because to them, you were more than simply a person. They couldn't ignore the energy of you. You were a spiritual event, a change in frequency. You're the narrative they can't change or remove. Number 9. They attempted to change the plot, turn you into the antagonist, distort the facts, and reverse the narrative. They presented you as the issue and spun falsehoods to make themselves seem like the victim. So many times they said it that some individuals did believe it. Here's the catch, however. The truth always triumphs over falsehoods, and it has a life of its own. The truth always finds a way to surface, regardless of how many times they say it. Your name is always there, connected to the version of the narrative they thought would never come to light. They fervently want to remove you from their history, but they are unable to do so as you were more than just a chapter. The plot twist was you. You were the person who encouraged them to develop when they were content with dysfunction, stood by them when they were broken, and offered support when no one else did. However, they deceived you rather than respecting you. They can't tolerate it now that you've healed, moved on, and begun to triumph in quiet. They feel vulnerable because your life speaks for itself, not because you're talking about them. Your alignment, your shine, your tranquility. All of this runs counter to the falsehoods they stated. You didn't disintegrate as they said you would. You didn't turn into the resentful, damaged person they attempted to portray you as. You got up, and no matter how hard they attempted to hide it, the mention of your name always brings it back to them. You're still popular in their talks because of this. Because you are still a part of the tale, they are unable to let it go. Additionally, your success makes it more difficult for them to maintain their version. They know deep down that they didn't just lose you. The only person who could see them clearly and yet love them was gone. That's a lasting loss. That is a choking truth. Instead of your breakthrough, they intended to finish the tale with your breakdown. However, here you are, flourishing, radiant, and changing. And the fact that you were more than just a name to them makes that reality blazing. They can't change their past because of you. And they know in their hearts that the future belongs to someone who can't be stopped. 10. What should have killed you? You survived. You pose a danger now. It wasn't meant for you to survive that. The mental breakdowns, the spiritual battle, the trauma, the betrayal, the desertion, and the quiet times when you thought no one, not even God, had your back. There were plenty of reasons for you to give up, to go insane, to become resentful, shattered, or buried. However, you didn't. You emerged with light after walking through flames. You didn't just make it through. It changed you, and you are dangerous because of it. People find it hard to believe that you are still standing, smiling, and developing. They don't understand that level of power. It contradicts everything they believe to be true about pain and power. People that collapsed from less are known to them. They saw your repeated emotional, spiritual, and financial setbacks, yet you managed to bounce back stronger. People are afraid of that amount of resilience because it shows how little they have been using their own potential. Because you are mediocre, you are not being discussed. Average is not the subject of gossip. What reminds them that comfort is stifling their progress is what they concentrate about, what they cannot describe or foresee. All of that describes you. You are living proof that suffering can lead to meaning, that recovery is achievable, and that life is precious. And that reality is too much for some people to bear. So they converse instead. They are disparaging. To hide the reality that your presence makes them feel guilty, they characterize you as too deep, too intense, or too unusual. You turned into a trigger. After everything went wrong, you did everything correctly, not because you did anything wrong. It's uncommon to have so much bounce-back power. It's annoying. It's frightening. You serve as a reminder of what individuals may become if they had the guts to confront themselves. And some choose to gossip about you rather than rise with you. Permit them. In actuality, they have been observing your testimony as if it were a suspense movie. All they want to do is guess what you'll do next. Here's the twist, however. You're not even trying to attract attention. You move with intention. You are unstoppable because of it. You didn't just make it through. You proved that the selected survive the storm. Through it, they change. And for those who are still acting as if the storm isn't real, that is really frightening. 11. You become the unofficial benchmark that they are unable to openly match. Though they would never admit it aloud, you are now the silent yardstick by which they constantly measure everything and everyone else, but only in private, as their pride would never allow the truth to be revealed. They declared to the world that they were done with you, that you were too much or not enough, and that you didn't matter. However, they covertly place your energy next to each new connection they form, and nothing ever truly compares. They believe they could just find someone who played the game, looked the part, or stroked their ego in order to replace you. They were unaware that you were more than just a feeling, however. You were a whole experience, a frequency, and a presence. You have a spiritual sense that could recognize dishonesty at a distance, loyalty that could not be purchased, and substance that was impossible to imitate. You saw them, not simply showed up. You had a great love. You offered safety, tranquility, challenge, and clarity. In contrast, every newcomer now seems a little shallow. The fact that no one else makes them feel as vulnerable or visible haunts them, even if they speak as though they've moved on and that you were a passing phase or a mistake. They are trapped with superficial substitutes for your depth, genuineness, and presence. Talks don't have the same impact. It seems forced to connect. They will pretend to be happy, but they know in their hearts that you were the one. And for that reason, Rintry, you are always in their thoughts, since everything that comes after you seems to be a blurred copy with a watermark. Although you weren't flawless, you were in agreement. You had a mission. You pushed them to develop in ways that others are afraid to. And that's the part they can't acknowledge they miss. It's you they surreptitiously check on. The one they indirectly bring up. The one they look through at 2 in the morning. I hope nobody notices. They know deep down that they will never be able to connect like that again. You turn into the one thing their ego wishes they had never lost, and the invisible ideal they are unable to surpass. 12. The curse they profit from is broken by your narrative. They find your mere presence unsettling, not because you have hurt them, but rather because your tale challenges everything they have chosen to overlook. You're mending more than simply yourself. You're changing generational narratives, disrupting whole bloodline patterns, and doing actions that people before you were too proud, too afraid, or too hurt to take. You are dangerous because of it, in a disrupting manner, not a destructive one. The reality is you. The human form is what they have been avoiding. Some individuals in your life, even members of your own family, have a strong stake in dysfunction. It's because it's all they've ever known, not because they're bad people. It's cozy. They get power from it. It enables them to remain inert, play the victim, and continue to act as if poisonous behaviors are a natural part of who we are. You don't inspire them when you speak the truth, establish limits, leave toxic positions, choose healing, choose peace, and refuse to hold on to things that were never yours in the first place. They find it offensive, because you take away the justifications they have used to define themselves when you refuse to remain mired in the generational catastrophe. You reveal the extent to which they have acquiesced, evaded, and tolerated dysfunction under the guise of tradition. You question the quiet. You reveal the secrets. You challenge the regulations. You speak the truth. And the whole system they continue to profit from starts to fall apart because of that reality. If mending entails giving up the power they acquired by suffering, they don't want it. If peace means they won't get the attention their horror tales bring, they don't want it. And because your breakthrough shows that it was always conceivable, they most certainly don't want to see you succeed. They just didn't decide on it. They attempt to limit your progress because of this. For this reason, people make fun of your limits, disparage your path, or call you theatrical, tough, or self-centered. You're not the main focus. When you choose completeness above survival, it's about the mirror you hold up to yourself. You turned into the unanticipated insurrection and the unavoidable truth. You're breaking a curse, not merely narrating a narrative. To be sensed, you never required a title. You never pleaded for approval. However, your enthusiasm turned into the topic of talk they couldn't avoid. It's not because you were looking for attention, either. It's because, without uttering a single word, the frequency you had broke illusions, upended deceit, and awakened sleeping souls. You were the holy mirror that reflected everything they didn't want to confront, the disruption in their comfort zone. They were unable to manage you because of this. They called you the villain for that reason. For this reason, they secretly measure themselves against you, watch you, and imitate you, because they are aware that your tale is the one that is bolded and imprinted in their mind, regardless of what they attempt to write. You're weak, which is why you're not popular with them. Your popularity stems from the weight you bear, which endures despite silence, absence, and betrayal. In actuality, you turned into a living example of how God's hand is still at work in the world. That change is genuine. Authenticity is more than simply a catchphrase. Everything fake around you is upset by a spiritual power. Don't shrink, then. Don't let their whispers make you doubt your value. Let your narrative do the talking. Allow your light to complete the task that your presence started, and allow them to preserve your reputation, as they are unwittingly spreading the word about your influence. In actuality, You're not the hottest thing since you made an effort to be. Because you become the exception they couldn't comprehend and the lesson they couldn't avoid, you're the talk of the town. Do not scroll away if this message resonated with you deeply. Give this movement your support by taking a moment to help more selected people discover the video. Like it. Tell us which portion most spoke to your soul in the comments section below. We read each and every one. Give this to someone who needs this heavenly reminder as they navigate life as a chosen one. Above all, be sure to subscribe to the channel and enable alerts so that you don't miss any more journey-specific, impactful words. The world needs this light and trust, and your support keeps it glowing. One truth at a time, let's continue to awaken the people. May you be blessed.